and then sprinkle sequins or glitter or confetti into it.
Melissa.
I know. It's so cool. You're listening to the Creative Faith and Friends podcast, episode number 4.
Oh, I got you. There's no reason to chasing payment on my own, 'cause you're here to stay every night and day. I'm delighted 'cause I got you. La, la, la.
Well, welcome to the Creative Faith and Friends podcast, where we talk about art and art supplies and faith and what happens when you combine them. I'm your host, Melissa Ohlson from pinkpaperpeppermints.com. And today we're continuing our series on color as we talk about creating color journals and acrylic paints. We're sharing our favorites and some tips and ideas, and of course our fun finds, which are a little unusual this week. Well, welcome to Creative Faith and Friends. We are so excited that you're here. We are continuing our series on color this week. And my name is Melissa Ohlson, and I'm here with my co-host, Lauri. Hi, Lauri.
Hey there.
And Jessica. Hi, Jessica.
Hey, y'all.
And we are going to talk about color journals. And I don't know if you have heard of color journals before. When we originally started talking about this, we found that there's just not a lot of information out there about color journals. So you might not have heard of these before, but basically what a color journal is a journal where you start saving little bits and pieces of colors that you like and color palettes that you like. So maybe you see a picture in a magazine of someone's living room and it just has the most beautiful green and pink and blue color palette. Then you tear that page out and put it in your color journal. And then you have maybe a pink spread in your journal where you save little bits and pieces of pink things. And it kind of goes in with what we were talking about before with color swatching, and that you can swatch your favorite supplies in on the color pages. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about making those. And Jess, you were saying that you have done a color journal before?
Not really.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, why did I think you said you had? And I know, Lauri, you said you've never done a color journal before.
No, pretty much I don't know anything. Every week I've said I don't know what we're talking about. So I don't know why I'm here exactly. I'm just the front man. I don't know what we're talking about. Teach me all about it. Oh, word. No, I've never done a color journal. I know we're all shocked by this, but I haven't.
Well, I've done a couple, but I just find them really inspirational. So when you're going to do something in your journal or you want to paint something, but you don't really know what colors you want to use, having that journal already full of ideas is very inspirational to just flip through and look at all the pinks or flip through and look at all the palettes that you found in the past. And I was talking about tearing pictures out of magazines, but you can print things from the internet too, and you can take pictures with your phone if you're out and about shopping. One fun place is like garage sales and flea markets. You might see something vintage that you're not going to buy, but you love the colors of it. And of course, you have to ask before you take pictures. In certain places, they get very annoyed if you take pictures.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can take pictures and save that on your phone and then print it out and put it in your color journal.
Okay, so can I ask you a question about this whole color journal situation?
Of course.
So I really struggle. One of my greatest struggles is being very black and white. Either it's right or it's wrong. And so I know that there's no right answer for a color journal. But if we took the magazine picture that you pulled out that you were talking about, the sofa with the pinks and the greens and the blues, and you put that in your book, but then what else do you do on that page?
Well, what I would do, and this is different from everybody, for everybody, it depends on what you're using it for. But if it's just for inspiration and it's just for fun, then what I would do is that would become the color scheme for that page. Then if I found another pink and blue and green picture that I liked, I would flip through and say, oh, that would go really well with that page. Or I might just leave it empty. If I never found anything that matched it, I might leave it empty. Or I might put all cool colors on that page. So it's all blues and greens and oceany colors.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then the next one might be warm colors. So it really depends on you and like what you like and what you're drawn to. It's so interesting what you said about black and white, because I can do that too. I feel myself like, well, I can't do that because, and I'm thinking, well, why can't I do that? It's my journal. I can,
Right. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, we get these rules set up in our head that we can't do it this way or that way. And whenever you feel yourself doing that, you should try and do the exact opposite of what you're thinking.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And just break that trend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say wherever you want to put it. And maybe you just paint some colors, or maybe you go find some inks that match that picture that you picked, or you know what I mean? Or just leave it blank until you feel there's something that you want to add to it. Mostly a color journal is just for inspiration for me. Now I know different people use them different ways, but that's how I use them.
Great. That's very helpful.
And listening, my brain is branching out even from that and thinking, oh, and you could put, you see thread that would look good on that page, staple it to it, or textiles, a fabric. Oh, that fabric comes to mind. Because my brain works in fabrics and threads and stuff too. And, then it becomes a big collage book of happy.
Yeah.
With all the colors that would work well together.
Yeah. And texture is a great idea too, because it's very inspirational to flip through a book like that with all the different textures.
Right. Or even you might incorporate nature. You have a flower that is that color if it dries well, or a leaf, or I don't know. My brain is just now running with that, which is how I usually work. And Lauri saying that about being so black and white. The funny thing for me is I am so much of a rule follower and black and white in my everyday life, to a fault sometimes. But the one place I find that I'm not is when I'm doing art or journals or something like that. It is like the most freeing thing to me, because I don't have to follow any rules, and it can be what I want it to be. When you said color journals, I found myself going it and trying to figure out what's a color journal, what am I missing, I haven't heard it, like I'm really lost here, and then realizing it doesn't have to be a certain way. It's what we want it to be and what we make it. And I love that about anything with art.
Absolutely. And I think, like I said, it depends on the person doing it. Like you say, you sew and you make your pretty pouches that are in your shop. And so you use a lot of fabrics and threads. So it makes perfect sense that your color journal would be more fabrics and threads and have to do with sewing, or it could be a combination, but that would definitely enter in. Whereas somebody who's more of a mixed media artist and they just love paint might have just pages and pages of paint colors.
Right.
So you really have to look at it and say, well, what do I use the most? I love die cuts. Maybe you're a die cut person. Maybe you die cut all kinds of papers that are all different textures and colors, and that's what's in yours. So it just really depends on the person.
Right.
The first one that I ever did was I just used a magazine, and I just gessoed the pages to cover up what was on the actual pages of the magazine. And then I just started gluing in pieces of things that I found. Sometimes I would sketch a little thing in the corner. I would swatch a new marker or paint. And so using a magazine as a journal is a really good way to break that. It has to be a certain way, or that this is too pretty. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to do it wrong because I don't want to ruin this journal.
I love that idea, because you know how sometimes you get a subscription to a magazine and then you somehow start getting other magazines that you haven't actually paid for? Has that happened to you guys?
No, that has not happened to me.
Apparently you're not subscribing to the right things.
Obviously
but
not.
I started getting this high fashion magazine. I am so not high fashion, but I actually looked through it the other day and I pulled out a bunch of pages because I thought it would be great for mixed media. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I figured I could use them for mixed media or something. But the pages are, it feels like real good quality, fairly thick paper. And I think it would be perfect to make one of those little color books on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just really inspirational too. Magazines have usually really beautiful pictures and help you see things in a different way that you might not have thought of. So I love them for that too.
Absolutely.
And then you can do things in them and you don't get, I've sewn in them, painted in them, it takes away the fear of, I don't want to ruin this because it's too pretty.
Yeah, that's very true.
And then the other thing was last week we talked about color swatching. A color journal is a great place to put your swatches. So you have all these collages of colorful things on the first couple of pages, and then you can have your color swatches of your different inks and papers and supplies on the next couple of pages. And so that's another great way to use them.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about color journals, and we thought acrylic paints would be our supply this week to talk about because they're so colorful. And so we were going to talk about some of our favorite things. And I think I mentioned this in one of my videos recently. I discovered this it's not new to me, Martha Stewart paint. It's like a pearlescent, and there's a pink color called Party Confetti that is just like the best pink, and it's pearlescent, and it's so pretty. And I put it in the video, and then I was running low, so that made me think of it when I did the video. So I went to order it, and Michael stopped carrying it.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, why? Why when I find something that I love? That seems to happen a lot.
That frustrates me.
Yeah,
I know. I found another place online, which I will link in the show notes, and I bought like 10 bottles.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, I don't want them to, because I don't know if they're discontinuing it, if that's why Michael stopped carrying it. So I don't know why I told that story, but
well, probably because Jess and I don't have that color, and if you needed to throw some our way,
where am I going to find this? Because I don't think I have this. Somehow I missed this color.
Right there with you.
I guess since I've admitted that I have 10 bottles of it now,
Yeah, really?
I'm going to have to share.
You do not need 10 bottles of that paint. You probably need 8.
That's right. There is some book there somewhere that says you only need 8 of one product.
That's
Somewhere.
right. The other 2 you can send to your friends.
That's right.
It is so pretty though. It's just, I don't know how to, it's like a pearlescent shiny, and it's just, I love it. It's the prettiest
sounds gorgeous.
So one of the things that I love to do with acrylic paint, and tell me if y'all have done this before, is I discovered this by accident, but I use a wax paper to squirt my paint on, like as a palette, like a wax paper or butcher paper, whatever I happen to have. Usually it's wax paper. And if you happen to be the kind of person that doesn't clean up right away, which I'm not saying I am, but I'm just saying.
But if.
And it dries, your leftover paint dries, then it creates like this skin of acrylic paint, and you can peel it up.
Really?
Yeah, it's so cool. And then you can like glue it into your book somewhere else. You can cut it into shapes. Once you figure that out, then you can start doing on purpose. What I do is I do like a thin coat of it on a deli paper is the word I was trying to think of. Thin coat of it on deli paper, and then sprinkle sequins or glitter or confetti into it.
Melissa.
I know. It's so cool. And then it dries, and then you can just peel it right off, and then you can save it, and then use it later and put it in your book. And it's really fun. I think I have a video where I do something kind of like that, but I don't think I use a skin. I think it's the tissue paper one. I just paint tissue paper and sprinkle confetti.
My mind is completely blown right now.
I'm so excited right now.
Me too.
You are going to love it. It's so fun. Like you can't stop making it once you try it.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Oh, I love new stuff like that.
Me too. So this is what I'll do. I'll run home and I'll spread some paint out and I'll put some glitter in it, and then I'll move on.
That's right. Because it's got to dry. I'll clean the house after I spread the paint.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really cool. I love that idea.
So,
okay, Jess, what acrylic paints do you like?
So it is a little hard for me because I try a little bit of everything. But my go-to, like if I'm using a jelly plate or something like that, I tend to grab the Dina Wakley acrylic paint. It's the heavy body, but it's in little bottles. So it's got a tiny little tip on the bottle. It reminds me of puff paint bottles, if y'all remember the old puff paint bottles.
Yeah.
And so you can squeeze little bits out, but enough to actually do something with. And it's heavy body, so it goes a long way. And it comes in a range of colors. And I like the colors that it has. I like the bottle it comes in. I like the ease of the squeeze of it. If I want a little more of a distressed look, I like distressed paint. the Tim Holtz Distress paints. To me, it's a very, this may be completely incorrect, but it's more of a watered down paint. It's a real thin acrylic paint. And so it's much more transparent and,
does it almost look like a stain? Like if you were to put it on wood, maybe it would be more like a stain?
That's a good question. I've never tried it on wood, but I've used it on jelly plates, and you can tell when you put it on there, it starts beading up a little bit. So you can't control it quite as much as you can the other acrylic paints. But it's neat. It's just different.
That's really cool.
I haven't tried Dina's paint, but I've seen a lot of people use it.
Yeah.
It's just, I have so much paint that it's one of those things where I haven't bought it, but now you're making me want to add it to my
Sorry.
Yes. I'm going to have to check it out. I don't know that I've ever seen it, but I promise you I will by the end of the day.
Yes.
What about you, Lauri? Do you use a lot of acrylic paint?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, no, I really don't. And the reason is because I don't have time for all that mess. I don't have time to wait for that stuff to dry.
But now you do, because you can put glitter in it.
Clearly, yes, exactly. Well, and clearly that's why I haven't tried that, because I don't have the patience for it. So I do have some acrylic paint. Almost all of them are just the cheap little craft acrylic paints from Michael's or Hobby Lobby or wherever. But I do have a couple that I really like that are just, they're good paints, but they're Hobby Lobby brand, Master's Touch. They have a couple colors. One I think is ocean blue, and that's just one of their regular acrylic paint. And another one, I can't remember what it's called. It's like a real pale pink. And it's a heavy body acrylic, and I really enjoy those both. So I'll have to find out the name, and we can put it in the show notes. But I love those colors; they look beautiful together. But yeah, I'm definitely not an acrylic paint connoisseur.
I don't think I am either. I don't really care what brand it is. Usually, I just do what you do. I just go and look for the colors that I like, just because I don't use acrylics that often, although I love working with my jelly plate and I love painting in my journal. I guess I'm just not that picky about the brand, except for that pearlescent Martha Stewart. That stuff is beautiful.
You have 10 bottles of.
I know, 10 bottles.
That she's going to send us one. I will say one thing to note: if you're working on paper and you want it to dry quicker, the heavier body paint seems to dry quicker if you do a thin coat than just the regular acrylic paint.
Really?
I don't know, in my brain it's because it has maybe less water in it. I'm not sure, but I have noticed that will dry much quicker than just the tubes of acrylic paint you might pick up, like the Martha Stewart or Apple Barrel or whatever else it is. That tends to dry quicker than those.
That's
a really good tip. Yeah. You had some favorite colors, Jess, that you were saying. What brand? It was a golden brand?
Yes. I have two golden that are the heavy body acrylics, and the quinacridone nickel azo gold and the Titan.
Best name ever.
It is, isn't it? Anyway, we're not going to go there. Titan Mars Pale is a really pretty, they're both very neutral and really go with a lot. Even though one's kind of an orangey color, it's more of a golden orange. It's really pretty. But they're both just really, really pretty paints. Yeah, that name reminds me, I had a friend who had a cat that had a really long name when we were little. So I went to name my cat and looked up names in the dictionary so she could have a really long name too. Made no sense, but that was her name because it was really long.
Nothing to do with acrylic paint, but just in case.
Long names like quinacridone, nickel, azo, gold.
Wouldn't it be cool to name your cat Quinacridone?
Oh my goodness.
That would be so cute.
Not a cat person.
Call her Quinny.
Oh. That's so going to be my next dog's name now.
I know. Okay, I was going to tell you something else and I forgot what it is now.
Can't imagine why.
No telling.
Cat names, dog names, paint names.
Well, we were talking about golden paint, which it's so fun to work with. I have a couple of colors. I first worked with it in a workshop that I went to. It was at like an art studio, and that's all they had was all golden supplies.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so wonderful, but it is super, super expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Is it worth the cost?
I think it is. If you are an artist and you're selling your work,
Yes.
I think it's absolutely worth it. If
Yeah.
you're just playing in your journal, then no,
Yeah.
I don't think you need it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you can afford it and you want to. I mean, it's beautiful paint. The colors are so rich and just, I don't really know how to explain how it just paints easier.
Yeah.
If
That's
that makes
neat.
sense.
It's really smooth,
Mhm.
really.
Hmm.
It's almost like comparing cotton with silk.
Yeah. That's a
Interesting.
good analogy. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody send me a little golden so I can try it. I don't have any of that either. Oh, golly. Something.
I do not have 10 bottles of golden anything, so
No,
I can't help you with that.
I think those may be my only 2 colors I got.
Yeah. I like metallic acrylics too.
Mm.
Like the pearlescent, the Martha Stewart pearlescent. Michael's has it like a student grade paint, which the name escapes me right now. But they have a white pearlescent.
I thought I bought it, and I thought I got it from one of your videos. Now, it could be the wrong one, but I got something that's a white with like some kind
It's like that sparkly white.
Yes.
It's called iridescent medium. So if you can find it, it's just like this clear
So
white
pretty.
iridescent, and you can mix it with other colors, and then it makes the other colors kind of sparkly. So it's just very,
Ooh.
very pretty.
Ooh.
I hadn't tried that. And it's almost not holographic, but that iridescence is kind of
Mhm.
like the color shimmer that you'd get from a holographic, where it kind of changes a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Oh,
Mhm.
so neat.
I think I have an IGTV video that I used it in.
I don't know. I bought it because of you. That's all I could tell you for sure. So thanks so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so fun finds this week. I had a toss up between 2, and I think I'm going to save the one of them for when we're talking about that item. So my other one that I'm going to do has nothing to do with color or journals, except that it's a really pretty color, and that is it's my Keurig. We talked about this earlier.
So
I
pretty.
know. I wasn't going to, but then I was like, if someone's like me, I had never used a Keurig until last year. And then Target put it on sale really, really cheap. And it was like this turquoise blue, not even turquoise. It's almost like a Tiffany blue, somewhere between Tiffany and turquoise. And it was so pretty. And my husband has a Keurig at work, and he talked about how much he liked it. And I was like, I just don't understand how it can be better than brewed coffee. But I finally bought it, and I love my Keurigs so much now that I'm a little bit obsessed with it. Like, I have all my little pods organized in the cabinet above the Keurig.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
You really?
Yes, because, I've gotten the whole family we hardly ever use our coffee maker now because we all have our favorite Keurig. But that's one of the cool things about it, is that my son likes really weak, bland.
Ooh,
Ugh.
what's the point?
I know, exactly. And my husband likes a certain kind, and I like a certain kind. So it's fun that you can have, and if you feel like flavored, but you never have to make a whole pot, right? I can make one little cup of vanilla flavored coffee, and then my husband can come in and make French roast. You know how when you make a pot of coffee, that first cup is so good because it's hot and it's fresh.
Mhm.
And then if you go in for another cup later, it's not as good because, it's just not
Yes.
the same because it's been sitting there. Well, with your Keurig, it's like, every cup is the first cup.
Oh,
Nice.
You see how obsessed I am with this? Like, I'm talking about, it's so good. I'm like, I look at my Keurig when I go in there in the morning. I'm like, I don't think I should feel this happy about this. It's an appliance.
I think it's fine if you do. I think it's wonderful. It's the little things that make us happy, right?
That is true.
So that's my fun find. If you don't have a Keurig, which I'm pretty sure probably everyone does, but
No.
I just had never used one before. Oh, right. You don't have one.
I don't have
Jess.
one, but my husband drinks coffee by the pot.
Yeah.
Mine does too.
It would not, I don't know if it'd be cost effective for us to have one.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing. We weren't sure about the cost, but I
Yeah.
feel like we use less. I feel like we at least break even, because with the bagged coffee, you would make a pot of coffee a lot of times. And then if it sits there and gets cold, and it ends up getting dumped,
Yeah.
and you make a fresh pot. So that's how I'm using it to justify it, I'm going to say.
Well, and Jess, my husband drinks it by the pot as well, and he doesn't hardly ever use the Keurig because he doesn't like it as much as his brewed coffee. So he brews himself a pot, and I just make myself a little cup when I need it.
I'm going to have to use that as my excuse to get one.
I think you should. I think they make small Keurigs that are just like 1 cup, little tiny ones.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is the big kind that you fill up the tank on the side.
Yes.
But you can probably get a little small one. I always thought, oh, how good could it be? But I just love it. So that's my fun find.
Nice.
How about you, Jess? What's yours?
Mine is completely unrelated to color, but except that it is also a cute color. But I got the faux memo printer that connects with your phone for Christmas, and I love it. It is so fun.
How do you say it?
What is it?
I don't know if it's correct, but I say faux memo. No, I don't say it like that. Faux memo. Yeah. Or however I said tomato. Anyway, yeah, tomato river paper. Faux memo printer, and it's a little Bluetooth printer, and you can print out. It's black and white, but it prints out on sticker paper, and you can print out notes to yourself. If you want to save like a text you get or a post on Facebook or Instagram, you can print it out. I've been using it for different things. I use it for labels. You find a picture online you like for inspiration, you can print it out and stick it in that inspiration journal and color around it. I have actually used it in our prayer journals where it talks about writing down a current event that you can pray for or something like that. If I see a newspaper article or a news article come through that is heavy on my heart, then I'll take that article, screenshot it, and print it out on this and stick it in my journal.
Oh, that is such a good idea.
That's really cool. Does it print on regular sticker paper, or what is it? Like not photo paper?
It's faux memo printer sticker paper.
Oh, okay.
And it's long lasting, so it lasts. I got there's one that'll last 2 years once it's printed.
Oh.
And then I wanted the long lasting, like that I could actually put memories in journals. Because
Yeah.
sometimes like teachers will text me funnies that my youngest has done. I know that's hard to believe, but different thing he said or done. And I'll just screenshot it and send it to that printer so that I can take it out and put it in a memory journal.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, that is super cool. I will have the link to that in the show notes too. Apparently, I'm going shopping.
Aren't we
I know,
all?
right?
Oh, dear.
Okay, Lauri, what about you?
Well, so I just recently found this online craft store that I did not know about called Joggles, which, Melissa, you had already heard of. Had you heard of it before?
Nope.
Yeah. So I think I was watching a YouTube video and somebody mentioned it. And of course I thought, well, what is that? And off I went to search, and they have some really, really neat products. They carry a lot of the Tim Holtz stuff. They carry the spray inks that Jess was talking about last time. Some time ago. But they just carry all kinds of stuff, and some of the not off brands, but some of the brands that you don't see in the craft stores as often. And I don't have an art store or a scrapbook store real close to me. So I usually have to go online for stuff that you can't find at a big box store. But she's awesome. And her shipping is very reasonable. I absolutely hate to pay for shipping on anything, but her shipping is very reasonable. And she's got some really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love her. And that is one of the reasons, is because she kind of stays on top of new products and new trends.
Yeah.
And so when something new comes out and it's hard to find, she usually has it. Now, she sells out of it really fast.
Yeah.
Because other people know the secret too. So you have to kind of jump on it when she gets it. But if you're on her newsletter, you'll know when they get it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But it's a really cool website. She's got and a lot of her stuff, maybe all of it, is discounted. I mean, her prices seem really, really nice.
So shopping. So you can go shopping after you listen to this podcast too.
And the last one, and the one before that,
Right.
and the one before that.
Next week's.
And
Next week's, yeah.
Okay, so our challenge for this week is we want you to create a color journal of sorts. So we've got our inspiration journal. So we thought you could kind of create a little color journal section in your inspiration journal, or you could create a little mini color journal that you could tuck in a pocket in your inspiration journal. Or, and this is what we mentioned to you last week, was to save your color swatch pages that you did and use those as a color journal section in your inspiration journal. So we've given you 3 different ways to do it. And of course, we want you to tag us on Instagram so we can share your work with other listeners, and tag us at Creating Faith and Friends. And then we're going to share our color journal pages too on Instagram, IGTV, or YouTube. And we'll send you links. And if you're following us on Instagram, you'll see where we're sharing it. But we're going to share our ideas with you there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I love working on things like this together when we're all working on the same thing. I think it's so much fun.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining us this week. That is going to wrap up our series on color, and we've got a brand new series to start next week.
Yay.
We have been having so much fun with this. We hope you have too. If you have suggestions for us, drop us an email on my contact form on pinkpaperpeppermints.com, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we would love to hear about your favorite brands of acrylics or any tips you might like to share. And we'd love to know if you're joining our challenge to make a color journal. If you do, be sure to use the hashtag Creative Faith and Friends on Instagram so we can see your journal and chat with you about it. You can find links to everything we talked about in our show notes at pinkpaperpeppermints.com/004. And if you have a moment to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts so that other creative friends can find us, we would be so appreciative of that. I'm Melissa Ohlson, and I hope you have a week filled with peace and grace, and we will see you next time here on Creative Faith and Friends.